So this week, Batman and Harley Quinn came out, and I did not particularly enjoy that film. So I wanted to spend some time talking about some Batman animated films that I really did enjoy quite a bit. Now, there's a lot of Batman animated films, and I haven't seen all of them. I looked up a couple lists. One had 19 different animated films, and I thought it was missing a few. So there's too many for me to be able to watch all of them and rank them. So I thought I would do a top 5, as well as a number of honorable mentions, as well as some recommendations from other things. But with that, I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into it. Tell me your top 5 favorites in the comments section down below. I'll probably miss some of yours just because I haven't seen them. And likewise, some of the batches that they kind of mushed together to me a little bit for me. So tell me your favorites down below in the comment section. I'd love to hear your feedback on that. With that said, I'm just going to dive in and start talking about my honorable mentions. And with these, what I'm going to do is these aren't necessarily like my 5 favorite honorable mentions so much as the ones that stuck out the most to me as interesting outside of my top 5. So the first one is Batman Under the Red Hood. A lot of people really like this movie. They got like Bruce Greenwood doing the voice of Batman. He was Christopher Pike on Star Trek 2009 and Star Trek Into Darkness. Really cool actor in that role, and a really dark Batman story telling the death in a modern version of the death in the family storyline, as well as kind of where the comics have gone with some of that, and just a real neat take. Like when they're doing what I wish more of the modern animated films were doing. That's what that one did. Another one, Batman Assault on Arkham. It's really should be called Suicide Squad Assault on Arkham. It's a Suicide Squad movie with a strong presence from Batman. A much better Suicide Squad movie than the one we got in theaters last year. Pretty cool movie. Enjoyable, dark, violent, and as I said, this would have made for a much better, just take this script, do it live action, beef it up just a little bit. It would have been a much better Suicide Squad movie than the one we got. Next one is actually more Justice League Flash story, but the Flashpoint Paradox. Very cool story for its use of Batman, because in it, the Flash changes the timeline, and because of that, Bruce Wayne's parents aren't killed, Bruce Wayne is killed, and because of that, Thomas Wayne becomes Batman. And so in the Flashpoint Paradox, you get to see this whole Thomas Wayne story arc of him as Batman in a really violent, dark, hard drinking Batman. That's my favorite thing about that one. It's just this alternate take of Batman with Thomas Wayne and stuff. And there's even these cool little character moments where the Flash talks about what Bruce is like, and just if this hard and dark Batman, just cool little character moments as he sees some of that stuff. And so real neat film in that regard. Next one is Batman Return of the Caped Crusader. And like, I'm not crazy about this movie, but I'm so glad it exists. And so essentially what it is last year they put out an animated movie that's a continuation of the 66 Batman with Adam West, Burt Ward. They've come back. They're doing the voices again. Or did the voices again for it, and it's the same style, same sense of humor, but stuff that you couldn't do on that TV show. All the characters are here, they go into space, and it wasn't something that blew my mind. I'm just so happy that something like that existed, and that in a couple months we're getting a sequel to it. Last performance from Adam West, and also William Shatner playing Two-Face in it. So even though I didn't really like the first one, I'm really excited for the second one still. Even right now I'm smiling. I really didn't like that much. I'll put my review up here somewhere, and I did not give it all that high of a score, but still its existence brings me a great amount of joy. Number 5 of my list of 6 in this 5 runner-ups, Batman and Mr. Freeze SubZero. This is kind of a sequel to Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Really, it's another movie in the Batman the Animated Series universe in the style of Batman the Animated Series. And so in that, it was kind of when they were firing on all cylinders. That creative team, just very strong back then. Not so much anymore, given the quality of Batman and Harley Quinn, but it's just doing such great work. And so just another addition to that. And then as a clump of also recommendations, there's this whole stream of Batman movies that I haven't been crazy about. Son of Batman, Bad Blood, Batman vs. Robin, that have the Damian Wayne storyline. where he joins in. That's not kind of my favorite thing. Some people have really enjoyed it. If you're into the Damian Wayne stuff, I'm not at all. Kind of my interpretation of comic books like ended, I don't know, around the year 2000. Really, as soon as I turned 18, comic books stopped existing. With all that said, let's dive in and start talking about my top 5 Batman animated movies. Coming in at number 5 is going to be Batman Beyond Return of the Joker. So, Batman Beyond, if you're unaware of what this was, essentially it was a continuation of Batman the Animated Series, except set decades and decades into the future, where Bruce Wayne is like in his 90s, old man, and someone stumbles upon the Batcave, and there's a rise of this gang called the Jokers, and there's crime coming, and so essentially Bruce Wayne starts training this young guy named Terry, and this young guy becomes the new Batman. And they made a movie that even kind of tried to like bridge some gaps of like, what happened to Tim Drake? What happened to the Joker? What happened? Answer these questions. That's called The Return of the Joker. And it's being that Batman Beyond was like a children's show at the time. This movie is so hardcore and violent with where it goes with things, and Tim Drake being kidnapped and tortured in parts of it, mind washing, people suffering with guilt and shame of the past. Just a movie that hits on really heavy stuff, and really the whole Bruce Timmverse, Dini-verse version of DC, it was always much darker than the TV shows they were making and touched on things that were much more adult than you expect from those shows. And that's partially why they're so timeless and they're so good and why they're so rewatchable. And this might be the darkest piece of that universe and where this goes and how violent it gets. The movie's actually, there's 2 cuts of it. One that's 93 minutes that's edited down. And then there's a 96-minute unedited version that's more violent and vicious. Like you don't normally have these animated movies having director's cuts to add violence back into them. And that's what you get with this one. And it's just a really neat movie of just, once again, that group of people at that time, same along with Batman and Mr. Freeze, SubZero, they were just firing on all cylinders at that point in time and just really had a knack for these characters and were in their groove. And even with Batman Beyond, telling new types of stories that wasn't ground laid by the comic books. These are just kind of fresh stories in their own version of that universe and telling neat stories in there that felt right, felt true to the characterizations that was in the comic books, but something new being done with them. And Return of the Joker is a great example of that. Coming in at number 4 for me is going to be The Dark Knight Returns, the 2-part adaptation of the graphic novel. And to try to go as faithful as they could, as much as kind of straight from the graphic novel. Let's put it all up there. We're not doing an interpretation. It's just a direct translation to the screen. And with that, because it's 2 parts, because it was a longer graphic novel, at times it bogs down a little bit in length. And that's why it maybe isn't a little bit higher on the list. Really cool story, simply because the graphic novel is so cool and touches on so many elements. And seeing this kind of Elseworld version of Batman is just really neat. There's a reason that the graphic novel resonated with so many people, and this exploration of an aged Bruce Wayne and his mentality, his mindset, along with looking at it then with Superman's mindset, this Elseworld version of Superman, on all of this coming out in the 80s. So having a certain interpretation of the political context of that time and the way it's placed into the story here with the all the different elements of it. It's so fascinating the way it kind of works together. So I really enjoyed it. The mentality of the thinking of it, just the action of it. And I always enjoy kind of these old guy coming out of retirement type stories. So doing that with Batman, that's even kind of why I like some of the stuff with Batman Beyond as well. But doing some of that stuff just works really nicely. And then getting Peter Weller, RoboCop himself, to be Bruce Wayne Batman, very cool choice. And for this one, the score to it, I actually really enjoyed the main theme to it is very memorable and pops more so than most of kind of these movies that sometimes it's just, okay, generic superhero video game movie that they all kind of have the same with the Arkham series, these movies. And the same guy does the score to a lot of them. That's why I kind of put them all kind of in the same category. This one kind of is the best of them, in my opinion. The one that I was like, oh, I really like what he's doing here. And because it's all really good quality, it just feels kind of like the same stuff. And then this one's just a head above the others. Coming in at number 3 for me is going to be Batman Year One. Right kind of around the same time that they did The Dark Knight Returns. They also did a direct adaptation of Batman Year One. It's a smaller graphic novel, and so it kind of fits nicely into doing about an hour and 15-minute long version of it. Once again, straight from the comic book to the screen. And Batman Year One might be my favorite graphic novel. I love origin stories. I love seeing this version of Batman, this point in time in Gotham, and the simplicity of it, and the clarity of thought in so much of it. I just enjoy that kind of thing. So naturally, Batman Year One's a pretty easy sell for me as a translation. It's done nicely. The guy that they got to be Bruce Wayne in this is actually the guy that's on Gotham as Commissioner Gordon. He's not Commissioner Gordon yet. McKenzie from the OC. Ben McKenzie, is that it? Blanking on his name for some reason, even though I've been a fan of his for over 10 years now. But so he's in there, and just once again, a story that's just really nice. It translates well to the screen, and so therefore it naturally makes for a good movie. It's a different type of story because it spans the course of a year, so you see development, things happening, and story arcs to it. It's a very enjoyable movie, very cool translation of this graphic novel directly to the screen. Coming at number 2 in a totally different direction from the last two, the Lego Batman movie. So if the last two are very direct adaptations of graphic novels to the screen, the Lego Batman movie is kind of the exact opposite. It's almost Batman satire. It's almost Batman parody. In a lot of ways, it is satire and parody of Batman while being a love letter to Batman and an actual story about Batman, all kind of mixed into one in this insane Lego universe where you can tie in all these Warner Brother characters into the movie. I really enjoyed this movie quite a bit. I think it's the only movie this year that I've seen in the theater 2 times. That wasn't entirely intentional, just kind of the way the universe played out. But just a movie that had a lot of things going for it that just kind of came together nicely in their understanding of Batman and then doing the Lego treatment of it. And so you could really explore some ideas, some emotions that you otherwise wouldn't explore with a Batman movie because of what, if you're trying to appeal to adults and all ages, you try and do different directions with it. So we're here because it's Lego, because it's for families, it can explore a different side of Bruce Wayne and the thinking of him, the ego of him, that and the family need and desire, all that stuff. Very cool little movie that didn't do as well as a lot of us thought it was going to do, but it didn't bomb, but a bit of a disappointment in how well it did. But coming in at number 1 for me is going to be Batman, the Mask of the Phantasm. So for me, I am absolutely the perfect age for when Batman the Animated Series came out. For my money, that's the greatest animated TV show of all time. Batman the Animated Series, the early 90s Batman cartoon, came out when I was about 10 years old, 11 years old, right around the 5th grade, 6th grade. So I was the target age. I am like the exact person that they were trying to appeal to with that show, and they did it wonderfully because I still love that show. Show it to my kids almost every single week, and it's on. I have all the DVD sets, so the fact that it's on Amazon Prime now isn't the reason I watch it, since I do have the DVD sets, but it helps that it's on Amazon Prime. But I watch it all the time. Holds up great. It's crazy that they were allowed to do this, and even more so when I watch some of the modern cartoon animated films and stuff, where I get disappointed. We're like, 25 years ago, with a micro budget, they had actual orchestral music and hand-drawn stuff with a brilliant style, with creativity and using a lot of dark paper to draw on instead of white paper and all sorts of techniques they did. Why can't you guys with more money do better than this? It's been Batman and Harley Quinn garbage from the same creative team. I don't know what they're thinking. Anyway, I haven't even started talking about Mask of the Phantasm yet. So this one was released in theaters. It was originally started as a project to go straight to video. And then they looked at it and like, hey, let's put this in the theater. And I was one of the people that actually did see it in the theater when it came out because I was such a big fan of the show. So go see the new Batman movie coming out. And I didn't fully appreciate it at the time it came out. I just was like, oh, that was cool, another Batman thing. And then as I've gotten older, I've liked it even more. Once again, because inside of this story is a Batman origin story. I love origin stories. I love Batman's origin story. And I find it very fascinating, this idea of someone choosing to use all the resources they have, and him being Bruce Wayne, having all the money, brains, and physical prowess that he has to become the ultimate man and fight evil so no one would face the pain that he felt. And so in this story that was aimed for 11-year-old me, 12-year-old me, it deals with all these adult themes, though, in it, and sort of the ideas of promises and the pain of his past and moving on and love that I appreciate way more as an adult than I did as a kid, even though as a kid I did enjoy the movie. And I mean, it's such a mature Batman movie. Of all the Batman movies we've gotten, this is the best characterization of Batman, to where you can say there's different interpretations of the character, and Nolan's movies are so cool, and I love what Batfleck did. But this is the best characterization that's true to the comics, true to what he's supposed to be and the torment inside of him, without having to rework him to do the Nolanize him or turn him into the Punisher or turn him into the Burton version. This is pure Batman on screen. And so it's a great movie. If you haven't checked this one out, go check it out. And it's a perfect example of how you can create a new villain. The Phantasm was invented for this movie, as far as I'm aware. And like the Joker's in it. The Joker has a big part in it, but he's kind of the side bad guy making some things happen. Obviously, Mask of the Phantasm is about the Phantasm, and you can do that. You can invent new characters that are compelling and interesting and tie in with things. They did that here. It's a very cool movie. It's crime drama. There's a mystery to it. There's the action to it. There's backstory to it. Got everything you want in there. Even a little bit of a love story for our sad, sad Bruce Wayne. So that is why it is the #1 animated Batman movie of all time, and I highly recommend that you check it out. Anyway, that's my list. How about you? Tell me your thoughts down below in the comment section. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Did I miss any movies? Are you a bigger fan of like The Son of Batman, Bad Blood, that batch of movies, and you want to sell me on them? I'm totally open to being convinced. I haven't even seen all of them. I've seen a couple of them. I'm just like, I don't need to rush out to see the other ones because it wasn't quite my thing. But I'm totally open to watching them if you think you could sell me on one of them. With all that said, if you are new to my channel, please consider clicking that subscribe button. I do movie reviews, ranking videos, and now kind of top 5 videos sometimes where I can't rank all of them because there's too many of them. Start putting some top 5s in the mix, but I don't want to just talk about movies. I want to talk about movies with you. So click that subscribe button, join me in the comment section, and thank you for watching.